On July 13, 2010 in Auckland, New Zealand, 32-year-old Carmen Thomas was reported missing, prompting a nationwide search. A dedicated mother, her 5-year-old son Jack, waited for her to return, but she never did. This abduction sparked a dramatic murder investigation that shook communities throughout New Zealand and beyond, becoming one of the country's most horrific cases. What dark truths led to Carmen Thomas's abrupt abduction, and will her family ever seek justice for her? Carmen's failure to bring up her son Jack from school on July 13, 2010 was unusual for her. Brad, her ex-boyfriend, and Jack's father attempted to contact her but was unable to do so. Carmen, a devoted mother, was unlikely to stay away from her kid. This triggered alarms. When Brad saw she hadn't been seen or heard from in 2 weeks, he quickly reported her missing. Friends and family became increasingly concerned as Carmen maintained contact with her son, even when he was staying with his father. Police conducted an extensive effort to locate her and discover more about her background. Carmen Thomas was born in Boksburg, South Africa, on October 30, 1977, to Neville and Teresa Scott. When she was 3, her family relocated to Durban, a thriving port city. When she was 10, her father died, which had a huge impact on the family. This tragedy drove her mother Teresa to move to Whitby, Yorkshire, to be closer to their extended family. When Carmen went to the United Kingdom with Teresa, she found it easy to adapt. She prospered, led a happy life, and chose to stay in the UK even when Teresa returned to South Africa. Carmen's relationship with her mother was tumultuous, as Teresa frequently misrepresented her health issues to attract attention. Carmen first believed her father had committed suicide, but she later learned that he was not her real father. Carmen admired her stepfather, Wayne Scott, and the two had a close friendship. After her mother remarried, Carmen attended school while living in the United Kingdom with various friends and family members. At 23, she was diagnosed with intestinal cancer, but she recovered completely and returned to university. During her stay in London, she met her boyfriend Brad Callahan, a Kiwi civil engineer. Their romance took off immediately after they met on a night out, and they soon moved in together in Rains Park. However, their relationship was strained and heated. When Carmen discovered she was pregnant, she attempted to make the relationship work, but their differences had grown too deep. Even after the birth of their son Jack in March 2005, they opted to separate. Despite their breakup, Carmen opted to relocate to New Zealand with Brad so that they could raise their baby together. They lived close to one another and co-parented their son peacefully. The trio moved to Auckland, New Zealand, a city noted for its beaches, harbor, and woods, with a moderate crime rate. Auckland is regarded as one of the greatest places to raise a family. Carmen chose to work as an escort after her breakup with Brad in order to cover her household bills. Everything seemed to be going well after she moved to Auckland until calamity hit. Unexpectedly, Carmen was missing for 2 weeks, so police initiated a hunt for her. The investigation began with an analysis of thousands of hours of CCTV footage to determine her last known movements. The media played an important role in raising awareness about her disappearance. After reviewing CCTV footage, detectives discovered Carmen entering a day-night pharmacy on Broadway in the area of Newmarket. On June 25, 2010, she wore a gray skirt, black blouse, black boots, and a purple scarf. This image was made available to the public. The tape showed no suspicious activity. She simply made a transaction and left. 2 days later, authorities discovered another CCTV recording, which was also released to the media. This time, she was seen at Countdown Green Lane, a supermarket chain, on June 27, 2010. At 7:10 a.m., she wore a beige jacket and the same purple scarf. This was her last known sighting and the last time she used her bank account. As the inquiry advanced on July 29, 2010, the police informed the media that they had found her automobile. On the same day she was reported missing, her Nissan Pulsar 3-door hatchback was discovered near Hamilton, around 90 minutes from Auckland. The car was its spare tire, but the standard tire and jack were missing. The cops were unsure what Carmen might have been doing in Hamilton. Carmen's turquoise bag and car keys were also missing. The car held only a few personal goods cash and an overnight bag. She hadn't communicated with her family or friends since July 1st, and there had been no movement on her bank accounts. Her mother, Teresa, hurried in from South Africa when she discovered her daughter was gone. The police requested the public to report if they saw any of the missing things, especially because the case was becoming more ominous. Police discovered a message and cash in Carmen's car. The note stated that she wanted to repay someone, which led them to believe that she owed money to her manager at the Gentlemen's Club, where she worked, and had been attempting to repay it. Since her car was discovered near Hamilton, it was assumed she went there to meet someone. This prompted police to examine over 100 bars in Hamilton, reviewing hours of security footage. Despite their thorough efforts, the police discovered no leads or suspects and had no idea who Carmen might have met. As the inquiry progressed, media awareness dwindled, and it remained uncertain whether Carmen would ever be recovered. The police boosted their efforts in the hunt, continuing to approach it as a missing person case while public mistrust grew. Search and rescue crews, including with cadaver dogs, examined potential hiding places for a body, including the Iraq Basin behind her Remora home, the Keepa Bush Reserve, and other locations. Carmen reportedly sent several messages to her boss and was active on Facebook a few days after she went missing, according to investigators. A month into the investigation, there was still no sign of Carmen, no leads, and no movement in her bank accounts. Teresa held a press conference on July 30, 2010, begging for any information regarding Carmen's whereabouts. She emotionally admitted, "I broke down and wept myself to sleep for a few nights. All I want is for her to return safely. She's a good mother. She's not the type of person who would abandon her son." During the investigation, detectives spoke with Carmen's ex-partner Brad, who cooperated and shared details about their relationship and her behaviors. Brad launched a public appeal on August 7, 2010, asking for any information that could help him find Carmen. He begged the public to understand how much their son missed her. Despite the efforts of the police and Carmen's loved ones, there were still no leads or sightings of her. By August 15th, 2 months after Carmen's disappearance, it was evident that this was more than just a missing person investigation. Detective Inspector Mark Benfield said at a press conference that the case was now being investigated as a homicide. This move was caused by a number of circumstances, including the dearth of verifiable sightings of Carmen after June 27th. A forensic examination of her car showed bloodstains, prompting investigators to suspect foul play. Carmen's 240-liter council-issued recycle bin served as a significant lead in the investigation. Carmen's recycle bin, which was supposed to be at her house, went missing, raising suspicions and causing authorities to assume there was more to the story. They released the serial number of the bin and asked the public for assistance in identifying it. Although Carmen's body had not been discovered, the move in the inquiry to a homicide case was disappointing for her family and the town, as their hopes of seeing her alive receded. The police received a tip from someone who said they saw Carmen's car in Whitford, southeast of Auckland, around the time she went missing. In response, authorities set up roadblocks, halting hundreds of motorists and asking if they had seen anything, but they were unable to locate any concrete evidence to validate the sighting. On September 1, 2010, the cops discovered Carmen's recycling bin. They did not say where it was found, but it was forensically examined. It was eventually revealed that traces of Carmen's blood were discovered in the garbage, giving detectives more information about what happened to her. Despite discovering the bin on September 1st, the police did not release this information for more than 2 weeks. The police were initially fairly open about the investigation, but once a suspect was identified, they became tight-lipped and focused on gathering proof and material evidence. The suspect was none other than Carmen's ex-partner, Brad Callahan. For several weeks, authorities were suspicious of Brad for a variety of reasons. The department remained tight-lipped with the media, but they maintained a careful eye on him. It is commonly known in police investigations that the individual who reports someone missing is frequently the first suspect, particularly in murder cases, because the murderer is typically someone close to the victim. From the start of the investigation, the police spotted some red flags concerning Brad. He was caught on CCTV entering the Countdown Green Lane store, looking worried and uncomfortable. The video showed Brad meeting up with a buddy and co-worker, but instead of going to work, they were suspiciously shopping for cleaning supplies and plastic garbage bags. Brad also asked his friend to bring him some kerosene, which created further suspicion. Another warning indicator was Brad's strange mobility. After reviewing his mobile phone location data, the police determined that he had taken long drives to the North Island at night and had been unreliable at work. Remember the notes Carmen allegedly made to her boss following her disappearance on July 3rd? She had also sent messages to Brad. However, phone records revealed that both Carmen's and Brad's phones were in the same place when the messages were made, implying that Brad was most likely using her phone. As forensic evidence poured in, the situation became increasingly frightening. Blood was discovered in Carmen's home car and recycling bin. The blood in her residence had been cleaned up, but investigators discovered blood splatter on the walls, indicating that she had been murdered and then removed from the site. What Brad couldn't avoid was a tip from a witness at a construction site. The witness indicated that he saw Brad there extremely early in the morning before anyone else arrived at work, adding to the increasing amount of evidence against him. He wasn't dressed for work, and he arrived early, which was unusual. That next day during construction, Brad directed the workers to fill a pipe despite the incorrect measurements. Construction workers also reported that they discovered a recycle bin with a terrible odor on the site, but later ignored it. When the authorities received this tip, they had an excellent cause to search Brad's workplace. They first went to the office and drilled a hole in the slab that was placed beneath the pipe. They returned with a camera to insert through the hole, suspecting Carmen's body was within the pipe at the building site. Despite the hunt, they were unable to locate Carmen's remains. Carmen's recycle container found on September 1, 2010 was discovered at Brad's neighbor's house with the serial number scratched off. Forensic tests found that the container may have contained a human body. This evidence made Brad the top suspect. Bradford James Joseph Callahan, a Kiwi civil engineer, was 33 years old at the time. He resided in the same neighborhood as Carmen, which allowed them to co-parent their son Jack. Brad was well known as a devoted father who would do anything for his son. Brad's new girlfriend, Tanith Butler, had moved in with him a few months before Carmen went missing. She was also pregnant. Carmen and Tanith got along well, and Jack was happy to have a sibling. When the authorities raided Brad's office, his family and friends were astonished since they couldn't think Brad was capable of injuring Carmen. He was regarded as both a gentleman and a devoted parent. However, it soon became apparent that his friends and family did not know him as well as they assumed. Brad was arrested and accused with murder on September 21, 2010, after which the police searched his residence. Despite this, there was still no trace of Carmen's body. Tanith, Brad's fiancée, gave birth to a child on October 1, 2010, 1 week after he was arrested. On the same day, police discovered Carmen's body in the Waitakere Ranges west of Auckland using cadaver dogs. The main detective felt emotional as he revealed that Carmen had been dismembered, encased in concrete, and buried in a shallow grave. Now that Brad had been arrested, the truth about what happened to Carmen began to surface. On the evening of June 28th, the day after Carmen was last seen alive, she invited Brad to come over the next morning to discuss their son's education. Carmen informed Brad that their son was being bullied at school and proposed transferring him to a new one. During their disagreement, Carmen reportedly told Brad that he had no say in the matter because he was not Jack's biological father. In a flash of passion, Brad took a child's baseball bat and hit her on the head, killing her instantly. He then asked a friend to bring plastic bags and kerosene, which he used to clean up the area. After that, he bought a butcher cleaver, dismembered her body, and placed the pieces in plastic bins. Brad hid her body in a wheelie bin and then deposited it at his neighbor's house to confuse the authorities, which succeeded for a while. He took her car to Hamilton, aiming to make it appear like she had gone there for work. To escape suspicion, Brad sent text messages from Carmen's phone to her pals over the next 3 days. However, the texting style was obviously different. Carmen's landlady was later discovered to have overheard the dispute that night, adding to the case against Brad. Carmen's landlady also heard her crying and a male voice trying to shush her. When she went to knock on the door, there was no response. Peeking through the window, she saw the room was in disarray. Shortly after, she encountered Brad, who was wearing his boxes and a shirt, while carrying his jeans and shoes. Brad told the landlady that Carmen had been sick and vomited blood all over him. He claimed she had gone to sleep and there was no need to check on her. The next day, the landlady sent a text to Carmen and received a reply, not realizing that it was actually Brad responding. It also surfaced that Brad had confessed to two of his friends long before Carmen was officially reported missing, but neither of them turned him in. However, they later provided critical evidence in the murder investigation after being promised immunity from prosecution. Brad had tried to convince one of his friends to help him dump Carmen's body at sea, but the friend backed out of the arrangement. As a result, Brad buried her body in a fish bin and covered it with concrete. Throughout the investigation, Brad continuously fed the police lies while trying to cover his tracks. The authorities had no idea that the person responsible for the nightmare was right in front of them. The trial for Carmen Thomas's murder began in February 2011, where Brad initially pleaded not guilty. However, on November 25, 2011, he changed his plea to guilty for her murder and for perverting the course of justice. During their victim impact statements, Carmen's mother, Teresa Scott, revealed that they had been trying to rebuild their relationship after a period of estrangement. She expressed her deep guilt over not mending things sooner. Carmen's stepfather, Wayne Scott, also spoke in court, sharing that he was plagued by nightmares and had become withdrawn. He said he could never forgive Brad for dismembering Carmen and hiding her body in a container. On March 30, 2012, Brad Callahan was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum non-parole period of 13 years and 8 months. He was also given a 6-year sentence for attempting to obstruct justice. His first parole hearing is set for 2025. The murder of Carmen Thomas remains one of the most horrifying cases New Zealand has ever seen. It shocked the entire community, especially since the crime was committed by someone no one expected. What do you think about the tragic case of Carmen Thomas? Do you believe Brad Callahan should be granted parole in 2025? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.